Right, welcome to another Smart Questions. Louise, what have we got this week?
This week we have, it's quite a big and overarching question, so we might take it in little chunks, but how do I find good customers and let poor ones go?
Oh, right, okay. Really interesting one, this one. So where do we start?
Well, first of all, I think we need to look at our existing customer base. I mean, we are assuming from this that you already have customers. That was kind of implied in the question that we were asked, that you have customers and you have a bit of a record. And often we don't actually stop and have a really good look at our current customer base and decide what the tactics should be. You know, often people think, oh, well, we need to find new customers. Well, absolutely, you should always be looking to bring new blood in, but really look at your existing customer base and your lapsed customer base, and look at that in detail. We have a tool called the Dream Tool, which was developed for just that purpose. It's really quite a powerful tool, and it takes the emphasis a little bit off this perpetual hamster wheel of finding new customers and gets you to look at what you've got and how you can develop them more effectively.
And that's DREAM, as in dream.
It is.
And interestingly enough, with this question, what does the D stand for?
Ditch. It's an interesting one, because I mean, we've all been taught, well, many of us have been taught, every customer is a good customer, and I have to say my experience is that isn't always the case. And that what you do need to do, you will take on customers for all the right reasons, hopefully, when you take them on, but over a period of time, they may become not the right customer for you. And you have to have the courage to look at your customer base probably once a year, we recommend, and just see which of those customers you are currently dealing with that actually are no longer a good fit for your business. And you're doing it just because, well, we've always done it and they're there and it contributes to overheads or any of those other nonsense reasons that people can come up with. You do need to look at objectively which customers are no longer a good fit and that we should be ditching.
And how do we do that? Because this is one of the common challenges we find, isn't it, often with business owners, to get to a certain point, picking up customers, and now they find that there aren't enough hours in the day to take on new customers potentially without maybe taking on new members of staff. And this is a great exercise to go through, isn't it, to free up time to allow us to focus on the valuable customers. So how do we think about deciding which ones to ditch?
Well, first and foremost, get your team together, or you with your objective head on, and look at the 5 boxes. So we have ditch, which is D, re-engage, which is about lapsed customers, expand, which is about existing customers, attain, clearly about new customers. And then the M stands for maintain, which is also about existing customers. And the first port of call should be to look at your customer base and put them in one of those 5 boxes.
Okay.
Because that will tell you a lot about your relationship with your existing customers, how they fit with you, and it is, if you've got a sales team and a finance team, it's quite often a good idea to get them both to do it separately, because they will have different views on what makes a good customer and what doesn't. So I often say to people, get your sales team to do it, but also get your finance team to do it. So you're looking at it from a different angle. Put them into those boxes. You can then look at, what do we think we can do with those customers? Or what value do we need to lose in case of the ditch customers over the next 3 years? And you can use that to really look at what the potential might be. Where should we be focusing our efforts? So once you've decided which box they go in and what they might be worth to you, you can then start to make some decisions about, well, okay, so which ones do we really want to move forward with?
Great.
So I think I would start by doing that, because it gives you an idea what you've actually got to play with.
And we can do that, as you say, a bit subjectively with the right people in the room, because we'll get certainly 90% of the way there. And or you can start to plot them on a little graph with the value that they bring in on the left-hand side and the time that they take on the bottom on the horizontal axis, and put them in little buckets like that. So all the ones that are bottom right on that graph, where they're not bringing a lot of value and they're not paying a lot of money for your service and they're taking up a lot of time, they may be the ones that you decide to ditch. Or if you're not actually going to ditch them, you're going to either raise the prices with them or you're going to find a way to spend less time with them. But that's a great way to start. And then you'll have a couple of other groups, won't you? Like the top left will be the high value, not much time, and it might be what could we do more with them? Potentially, but equally you'll have a couple of groups somewhere more in the middle, and it might be then that they become the maintain groups, or the or one of the other groups that you mentioned.
And it's once you've got them and you know what the size of the issue is, do you have enough business? Do you think you've got enough business in there to be able to grow the business without looking at a huge pile of new business? Do you need more new business? Do you need to have a rethink about this? And each of those 5 boxes should have a strategy attached to it. So what's our strategy for ditching? What's our strategy for re-engaging? What's our strategy for expanding and attaining? But equally, what is our strategy for maintaining? Because those are the ones that often fall just between, how many times have I heard customers say, well, we were dealing with them and then all of a sudden we weren't. And it's like, well, how were you looking after them? They're often the ones that we take for granted and we shouldn't be doing. So you should have a strategy for each of those. And then as you drill down by each individual customer, you can work out the approach and tactics underneath that strategy for each of those areas.
It is a brilliant tool. It allows you to reset and make sure that you're not just plowing forwards and you're carrying a lot of time wasters essentially with you, but also then to really see where you're getting this, where you really can get the business from. It's not a little bit vague, like, oh, let's do all this marketing, let's do whatever else. It's quite tangible. You can say, how much business are we going to get from that group and that group?
Yeah, and companies can move into different boxes as you go along. It is that management tool for customers. And coming back to the ditch, people really, really underestimate the cost of a company, dealing with a company that you really shouldn't be. It's a double whammy, because they are taking up a lot of time. You're not making a lot of money out of them, and you're giving up the opportunity to work with somebody who you could make more margin from, who will be a better fit to the business. So actually, you shouldn't be looking at it from the point of view of, oh, this is maintaining some level of turnover. It's that lost opportunity that you have there for being able to work more efficiently, more effectively, and make more money by taking on either expanding a customer or taking on a new one that does more for you.
Absolutely. And they could even be, they may be a small client, but they could actually be quite one of your more significant clients from a turnover point of view, but you're just spending a lot of time and not making a lot of money from them. And I think one thing that's worth mentioning here is we're not necessarily firing them and just closing the doors and not talking to them or something, or just saying get lost. We're finding a way to ditch them nicely, aren't we? And it could be that our definition of that kind of client is somebody's perfect ideal client. So it might be that what we want to do with those is introduce them to somebody where they're a better fit. So it's a better outcome for the client as well as for us.
Yeah, and that's where the strategy comes in. What is it that you want to do with these people? Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't recommend anybody just going, had enough of you, go away. Not the best of customer service, I don't think.
Great. So I think that's a really good introduction to the dream tool. Clearly, there's a lot more to how do we go about finding more customers within the question, but this is a great place to start, because as you say, part of doing this exercise will force us into thinking who are our best customers, and therefore if we are going to go out and look for more, we know what kind of customers to look for. So it's a good starting point there, and it frees up time to be able to take on more customers without necessarily having to take on more members of staff.
Yeah, and the first time the tool was used, actually, I got a great call from somebody they came along and they said, we're thinking of taking on a new business development manager. This was going to cost them 50 or 60,000. Introduced them to the tool and they ran it, came back and said, this is in a nutshell. You've just saved us a lot of money, because when we ran the tool, we realized we'd got an awful lot of opportunity with our existing clients.
Yeah, brilliant.
And we don't need to look at driving this attain quite as hard as we thought we did.
Yeah, really, really good example to end on. And it's that stepping back and thinking rather than just plowing forward regardless, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Louise, thank you very much for that. I think that was an excellent session.